Hello there, friends of the program. It's Tate Frazier, and it's officially that special time of the year where we go on a march through madness together for the 85th edition of the NCAA tournament. What makes March so special, you ask? Well, it's the unknown. It's the fact that this is basically Survivor on a basketball court on CBS without Jeff Probst. And no matter how much you prepare, you cannot predict this kind of chaos. And that is what we will be covering on this podcast, One Shining Podcast. All the madness, all the David versus Goliath personified. It's the best show in town. The ball is tipped, and here you are with us. Come listen and join us wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to the Ringer NFL Draft Show. My name is Danny Heifetz, and I am joined by Danny Kelly and Craig Horlbeck, and we are going over the winners and losers from the NFL Combine, and we're going to do it Oscars style. So if any of us talk for too long, Kai is going to play us off with the Oscars music. And we're also going to hear from Craig, who actually was at the Oscars on Sunday night, like actually invited. And
that's right. I didn't win any awards, though. I was snubbed.
You did get you did actually have a picture of you holding an Oscar. So we're going to get to Craig's Oscar stories and like what it's like actually being there. And we haven't talked about this yet, so I actually want to know what's going on after the after parties and everything. So we're going to go through that, and we're going to go through the NFL Combine Awards, winners and losers. And we're going to go through all the news, because there's a bunch of stuff that's happening. The Giants did not get Matt Stafford. There's a ton of stuff to hit. But first, remember to follow us on Instagram, Ringer Fantasy Football on Instagram, and God
nice.
damn it, Kai.
Get him out of here.
Sick of these plugs.
We got to get to the show.
Too many plugs up top. You don't hear Tony Kornheiser plugging his Instagram at the top of PTI.
Right,
we have a timeline. We have a timeline here.
Okay,
I don't know if Tony Kornheiser's on Instagram.
I highly doubt it. Point taken, though, Kai. Fine. We'll get to the news. Starting with this just happened today. We're recording Monday afternoon, March 3rd. The Bengals have franchise tag receiver Tee Higgins. So it's the second year in a row that Tee Higgins is going to, would be franchise tagged. We'll see if he plays on it. If Tee Higgins plays on the tag, it just means he has a one-year contract for roughly $26 million. Players hate it because they're worth more. And then if he tears his ACL during the season, then he would get way less. So players hate it. The Bengals could still negotiate a long-term deal with Tee Higgins through mid-July. They can still do that. They can still trade him to someone who wants to do that. But this is a huge dent to all the fans who are telling themselves, wow, we could get Tee Higgins, right, TK?
Right. Yeah, this basically guarantees that he's going to be in Cincinnati this year. They have said explicitly they plan to do a long-term deal, but they have to get, I think, Chase done first. That is the priority. It's wild that they have both of these guys to get done this season.
Well, not just that. Tee Higgins hired Jamar Chase's agent.
Right. And Joe Burrow has been very publicly petitioning for the Bengals to bring back Tee Higgins. Do you think Joe Burrow's happy with this decision that the Bengals made, or is he still kind of annoyed because it's like a loophole?
I think it's one step towards the goal, so he can't be super mad about it. I think it's just kind of it's one part of the process, and hopefully they get a long-term deal done.
I mean, it's annoying that they did it, but if the Bengals didn't do this, then Tee Higgins would probably be a free agent, so he would leave. So this is a path to Tee Higgins staying in Cincinnati, even though it probably makes Tee Higgins a little unhappy. That is kind of overall, though. I think, it's when Joe Burrow is the best player probably in the history of the Cincinnati Bengals will go down that way. And he's I want to keep Jamar Chase. I mean, realistically, Anthony Munoz, the left tackle, is probably one of the best, maybe the best player in Bengals team history. Joe Burrow is probably going to be first. Jamar Chase is also going to be on that Mount Rushmore. And I don't know how far down the line is Tee Higgins, but he's end up being a top 15 Bengal ever. I don't know. And so Joe Burrow's can we keep these guys together? And usually I'm I don't know if you want to spend that much on three dudes. It's quarterback, receiver. I'm you know what? They clearly got a good thing going. I'm just keep them together.
It's the only good thing going for them right now.
Also, I feel oftentimes when teams are stuck in this predicament, it's when all the players are aging a little bit, and it's oh, do we want to sign them into their early 30s when they may be leaving their prime? Tee Higgins is 26, Jamar Chase is 25, Burrow's 26. These guys are still firmly in their prime. I mean, if you're breaking up this trio in the dead middle of their prime, you're not doing it right, even if it costs a lot of money. You have to go for it.
Going back to what we said at the Combine, using your cap on very good players who make your offense elite, I think that's a good thing, actually. I know people are going to be you can't spend that much money on two receivers. I'm why not? They're really good, and they make the offense go. Basically, this is the only thing going for this team right now was their offense last year. Obviously, clearly a great connection with Joe Burrow. This is what your cap is for. Go ahead and use it on your elite players that make your team really good.
I agree. I think fundamentally, I totally agree, DK. Where there's an assumption that you could replace Tee Higgins with
in the aggregate,
and use the money elsewhere. In reality, it's actually Heifetz alert. It's actually the opposite. If you spend $26 million a year in free agent this year, the overwhelming odds are you're not going to get that great players. Like there's way more money. Teams have way more money to spend, and the players are worse. Right. Like it's not a good free agent class. Teams have, again, the cap went up more than any teams thought. Like or $100 million more in cap than there was 7 years ago. It's like there's more money chasing less talent. That means the talent you have, like at franchise tag, it's actually a premium to just keep the good players. So that's why I think the Chiefs tagged Trey Smith at guard, that conversation that we labored through last week. Tee Higgins. The other one is the Cowboys are tagging their other good defensive tackle, Osa Odigizua, which I don't know if I'm saying that properly. I'm sorry.
Odigizua, I think.
Odigizua? He's good.
Pretty close. I don't know.
Odigizua, he's good. He's honestly but that's another example. It's like if the Cowboys let him go, guess what? You're going to get a worse player for more money. That's how free agency works right now. So I think it makes sense. I do think they'll probably sign Tee Higgins to a long-term deal, but it is crazy to think that Jamar Chase, Tee Higgins, same agent, now they got to negotiate 2 deals.
Heifetz. Just to like give it a good illustration of this, because obviously the counter would be, if they don't tag Higgins, they'll just go get a bunch of good defenders and their defense will be good. But can you remind me who the players the Giants signed instead of signing Saquon Barkley were?
Exactly. That's a great point, DK. Like the New York Giants had this issue just last year. Why would you give Saquon $12 million a year,
right,
when you could give Drew Lock and Devin Singletary $12 million a year?
Yes.
To Drew Lock, who so famously, when they cut Daniel Jones, did not play. They didn't start him. They started Tommy DeVito. Why would you give Saquon Barkley $12 million a year when you could sign John Runyon Jr. to be your guard?
$12 million, man, that already sounds like such a small number in hindsight. In my head, it was like 23.
It was a cap. We have so much Giants to talk about. There's a lot of Giants to this show, so I don't want to drag more into it. We keep
picking at this cap. I know. For you. I feel bad, but like, it is a good example. And honestly, look, my Seahawks have done this a bunch of times too. You sign like 4 or 5 free agents, and they all suck. And it's like, okay, we should have just kept the good guy. But obviously, there's the other side of the coin can happen where you sign a really good free agent, and it does happen. But I just think that is the pull that you have to have with it, where it's like, this is the unknown here. We're signing free agents. They're not in our building. We don't know how hard they work. We don't know how they're going to fit the culture. There's all these different variables. We don't know how well he's going to be able to be coached or whatever. So just keep the guy that's really good. That's on your team already. That's just kind of my point.
And I think a good example of this, because it's not just running backs that are devalued. There's big picture. There's guards haven't really ever been huge money, but guards or running backs and inside linebackers were like huge captains of the defense for like forever and then got undervalued, and also safeties. The Bengals just went through this with Jesse Bates. They let Jesse Bates go. You know what fell apart? The Bengals defense when they lost Jesse Bates. He went to Atlanta. That secondary got good. The Bengals defense, they couldn't replace him. And they're like, oh, we don't want to pay $14 million to a safety. Guess what? They had to fire Lou Anarumo because the whole defense relied on Jesse Bates being an incredible safety, and they couldn't replicate that level of play. They couldn't draft and develop. This to me is very similar, where it's like, if you have an identity, that secondary was an identity for Cincinnati. They let it go. The Bengals, Burrow, Chase, Higgins, it's an identity. It's how the team thinks of themselves. You have to keep identity. On that note, I made a huge error last week in Indianapolis, which was I dared to dream. I hubris. I started actually believing that something cool could happen to the New York Football Giants.
That was the first time we saw life in Heifetz's eyes as a Giants fan since I've known him.
Craig, when you said like sign Stafford, sign Cup, draft whoever. Draft
when I sprinkled Cooper Kupp on top, Heifetz went to another level. He was like, I didn't even think about that.
That was so mean of you.
So I don't know. Within 12 hours of us putting up this episode, where I was like, I think the Giants are going to get Matt Stafford.
Super Bowl. I think I heard him say Super Bowl.
I had $10 bet for them to $4,700 for $10 bet that they win the Super Bowl. Anyway, so Matt Stafford went back to the Rams.
Yeah. And he did. It's like, isn't it a 1-year deal or whatever? We haven't heard the parameters exactly yet.
We don't know the parameters still. But Jordan Rodriguez, the Athletic, kind of laid out, if you read between the lines, it sounds like the whole thing was just about guaranteed money. The Rams only wanted to give him, because everything that's not guaranteed is fake, right? It's just like Stafford wanted a 2-year contract. He wanted 2 years for like $100 million.
Mm-hmm.
The Rams were like, what if we give you 1 year for $50 million? And Stafford's like, I kind of won you a Super Bowl and was pretty sick at times. Can't you just give me 2 years for $100 million? That's what this was all about, was the Rams basically were like, go out, see what you get with the trade package. And apparently it sounds like the Giants were like, we would love to give Matt Stafford 2 years for $100 million. Sure, we'll give you draft picks to do it too. And so Stafford turned around and was like, see? And the Rams
Stafford kind of called their bluff or whatever.
He totally called their bluff.
Was it, Heifetz, was it fun to at least kind of be mentioned in the conversation? At least by proximity, you were theoretically close to Matt Stafford. Was that cool?
It was the most fun I've had watching the Giants in a year.
Was it fun that Matt Stafford used the New York Giants as leverage to get a better contract? Like, that's kind of fun, at least, right? That shows
it was a fun night. I enjoyed being used for a night. Yeah. It was a good night. I'll think about it for a while. And when the Giants are like 3-8 in November, I'm going to think about that one night where I thought about what it would be like.
And being like, hey, this shitty team will give me $100 million over 2 years. And then the Rams are like, all right.
I felt really dumb. And then immediately the report comes out that the Giants are interested in Aaron Rodgers. And I didn't know what to make of that. And so I'll believe that when I see it. I'm
this one feels like it has legs.
I don't think it. Oh my God!
Unlike Aaron Rodgers,
dude.
Well, he doesn't have a foot. He doesn't have a heel.
Right.
But close.
I feel like the foot is a big part of the leg.
It is true. That's true.
That's
an important piece of the leg.
How long do you guys think it'll take me to talk myself into Aaron Rodgers if the Giants get him?
3 minutes.
If it comes with Devontae Adams. Then
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
No, because then we're going to lose. You have to.
Craig, let's lay it out for him. Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, draft Abdul Carter,
Randall Cobb, Alan Lazard,
Jake Kumaro,
Nate
Jordy Nelson.
What's Jordy Nelson doing
Mercedes
right now?
Lewis.
Nate Hackett.
Oh,
that's
God,
good.
Ayahuasca 3
Holy
for
shit,
everybody
Mercedes
in the locker room.
Lewis. He's a great blocking.
Yes, you get part 2 of the Enigma documentary will come. That's cool.
Ooh.
That's my short answer. Is basically like if the Giants sign it and then Malik Neighbors a year from now is like I want to trade, then I'll just be crushed. Anyway, yeah. So I don't even want to address the Rodgers stuff. I'll believe it when I see it. The thing that did happen is the 49ers traded Deebo Samuel to Washington for a 5th-round pick. So, and you're wondering why a 5th-round pick for Deebo Samuel. Basically, the 49ers are going to have to take a $31 million dead cap, which is money they already paid Deebo, but they haven't reported it to the NFL yet. So that's like what dead cap money is. They paid Deebo $31 million they didn't account for. So that's a big hole. Washington will pay Deebo almost $18 million this year on their cap, or they could do a contract extension. I don't know, or he could play out the contract. But that's basically why it's a 5th-rounder is if Washington... Like how much money Washington takes on kind of affects the pick. It's kind of like if Washington takes more, you get a better draft comp.
Deebo's value is lower because he's owed so much money, essentially.
Exactly, and also he's a player who has had a down couple seasons with a lot of money,
right?
And so that's a tough situation. I love this trade though. I think this is perfect for Washington.
I do too. I really like it. I think this is exactly the type of thing they need. They have these like perimeter guys like Terry McLaurin. Deebo Samuel gives a little bit of grit and a little bit of physicality to a team that I don't know if they necessarily have it offensively. Jaden Daniels is like not the most physical guy. Again, it's like Austin Eckler, they have it. Also, the team's kind of older. It feels like they're a weird blend of like win now, but also planning for the future. And 5th-round pick, despite the money, I think is pretty solid. I think both sides are kind of happy. I have a lot of Niners friends in my life. They were all texting, basically saying, see you later, Deebo. Like, thanks for the time, but don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out.
He kind of wore out his welcome, it felt like a little bit, with all the trade demands and the weight gain and things of that nature, the injuries.
Yeah, he wanted to trade 2 years ago. He admitted at one point to Kyle Shanahan he showed up out of shape, like the contract negotiations had lingered. And then again, just last season, Deebo had a calf injury, a wrist injury, an oblique injury, a rib injury, and he had pneumonia. So you can look at that 2 ways. The way I've optimistically chosen is, damn, 5th-round pick. If you get Deebo, that's kind of perfect in your offense. Yards after the catch guy, Terry McLaurin. Like the only other receiver they had under contract at this point was Luke McCaffrey. Like they need a receiver. He's perfect in a Kingsbury system. The flip side is the Niners, as Craig said, like the Niners didn't miss him. So it's kind of like a Rorschach test on whether you think Deebo was banged up. And obviously, he's 29 years old. He's probably not going to be as good as he was in 2021. I don't think he's as bad as he was the last season, though. And I just look at it as this actually makes sense for both teams. It makes sense for the Niners to get off the money.
I would say this is a low stakes gamble, or in a good way. Like will give them the opportunity to have that upside. They might have to end up paying him a lot of money, and maybe he doesn't ever kind of pan out the way they want to. But Heifetz, you mentioned it in passing. You're just looking at their roster. Olamide Zaccheaus, Noah Brown, De'Ami Brown, Jamison Crowder, and KJ Osborne are all free agents right now. Literally, the 2 guys on the roster right now, the 2 like regular roster receivers are Luke McCaffrey and Terry McLaurin.
And they only have 1 tight end under contract. So put it this way, 8 players caught a touchdown for Washington last year. 8 players.
Yeah.
6 of those 8 players are free agents. Like they don't, and one of them is an offensive lineman. Like they don't have many players. Like, and so why not take this gamble?
This will be his contract year, right? Like he'll have motivation to play hard and be in shape and all that.
I definitely think that's the case. I feel like this is going to be one of those things where it's going to be like the wild card round, and Deebo's going to have 8 catches for 120 yards and like 5 rushes for 34 and 2 touchdowns, and everyone's going to be like, holy shit. Like Deebo Samuel
rounder
has completely revitalized himself, and he's like newly motivated. He's 29 years old. I do think there is a bit of like, not like a last run, change teams. You go to a good team, you're motivated. Like a Stephon Diggs goes to Texans and is like, I'm going to show the world Jimmy Butler, my boy on the Warriors right now. You know what I mean? Like there is like a final run thing, I think, for Deebo, and I think he's perfect for Washington.
By the way, got to watch a Warriors game with Craig in the flesh.
And what a game we watched.
Man,
electric.
Craig is the biggest Warriors fan. Craig loves basketball. Do you love the Warriors or SDSU more?
Wow.
Can't choose. It's like choosing between your children.
I can't choose. Don't ever ask me that question again. But we picked the perfect. Steph had 56 points. It was an unbelievable game.
He was like 11. What was it? 11 of 14 or something from 3?
12 for 17, but he's counting. Maybe 12 for 19. Yeah, it was a great game.
Craig, we're like just having a conversation every like 2 seconds. Craig's like, bang!
I was like, how are we having a conversation? Turn around. Steph's putting on a clinic.
Yeah, it was fun.
Did he have the most 50-point games after turning 30 ever?
Yeah.
By like a lot.
I think he has like 8 or something, and the next guy's 5.
Yeah.
That's insane. All right, so put $1 in the Warriors jar, Craig.
Okay.
I brought it up.
That's fine.
That's true.
Actually, no, he did. He did bring it up.
I brought up Jimmy Butler.
Yeah,
I compared Deebo to Jimmy Butler, which is fine.
All right, let's get to the Combine Oscars here, which again, we're going to do winners and losers for the NFL Combine with one important twist. We're going to go through the awards and the categories. Like Craig and I will introduce the categories. DK will bring it up. And if any of us just go on too long, Kai is going to just play us off with the music. So
I'm very intrigued to see how ruthless and merciless Kai is with this.
Kai kind of rules with an iron fist. I don't think he's
Il Duce.
Yeah, he doesn't put up with any crap, so we'll see. So yeah, we have a bunch of categories here. We're going to list the nominees. DK is going to open the envelope and tell us who won. We were in the combine. We were at the combine last week. We all flew back. DK scoured the tape this weekend, watching all these guys perform. And so here we go. Should we start with the first award here?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Here are the nominees for Most Athletic Offensive Player from the NFL Combine. Here we go. Here are the nominees. Quinshon Judkins, the running back out of Ohio State. Omarion Hampton, the running back out of UNC. Will Campbell, offensive lineman, LSU. Tate Ratledge, the guard out of Georgia. Am I saying that correctly?
I think so.
And a receiver named Isaac Tesla.
Tesla?
No,
Tesla, I think. I don't know.
Okay.
It's spelled TESLAA.
Truly one of the most bizarre kind of spelling pronunciation tricks I've ever seen.
Sounds like an Elon Musk burner.
I'm going to have to look that up.
Tesla. Yeah. So those are the nominees. DK, please, drum roll. Who was your winner?
All right. So I am going to go with Omarion Hampton, the running back. I think, first of all, look, there's all the running backs were athletic. This was an extremely athletic, like historic, actually, running back class, I think, in terms of like the speed, explosiveness. But Omarion Hampton, who already had sort of the cool factor of being really physical, run through your face. I literally put this on his scouting report. He wants to run through your motherfucking face or run through a motherfucker's face. I can't exactly remember the exact quote that Marshawn Lynch said.
I always thought Marshawn said run through a motherfucker fast. But did he say face?
I think run through a motherfucker face.
Okay.
Run through a mofo face? Motherfucking face?
Face is in the canon.
This is how our editing process works, by the way, because Riley, my editor, was like, he's like, we don't really put motherfucker in titles, and this is kind of like a title because it was the description. So I'm like, so we're like,
we got to change that rule.
I was like, run through a mofo face, I think, and then we ended up landing on that.
On NFLDraft.3.com, where you have your top 50 players, you said Omarion Hampton reminds you of one of those motorcycle drag racer things.
Yeah.
So
you ever seen those with like the thing on the back so they don't like flip over?
Yeah, I rode one of those this weekend on Santa Monica Boulevard.
Sure you did.
DK, so Omarion Hampton, he only ran a 4.47, and I know the 40-yard dash is the only thing that matters. So tell me why did he win the award for most athletic offensive player?
He did that at 221 pounds.
Okay.
He had a 38-inch vert, a 10-10 broad jump. This was really close between him and Quinshon Judkins, by the way, because Judkins was like almost identical in all the categories. But I just went with Hampton because I think he's like just all around a little bit better back. And the acceleration that he has already stood out to me on tape. Incredibly impressive acceleration. This was like co-named the Saquon Barkley Speed Isn't Everything, but it's definitely something award, where he's accessing run lanes that like most running backs just can't even get to. You know what I mean? And so I'm just really excited about. Obviously, this is just confirming kind of what we already saw on tape, but really impressive. He ended up being 14th all time, going back to like 1987 in relative athletic score. And I think he was the highest ranked running back.
So relative athletic score is like this composite of all these testing they do at the combine.
Right.
And this guy, Kent Lee Platt, does it. And interesting guy, he has a beret and one of them curly mustaches, but he's really smart. And he put together this composite of all the testing with like weights for like what matters. Oh, God.
Yes.
Shit.
Kai doesn't give a shit about relative athletic score.
Shit. Thank you. Marion Hampton, he did really well. Only 13 better running backs than him over the last 30 years. It was really impressive. One of his comparisons was Adrian Peterson, which really caught my eye. Thank you, Academy.
Well, you should have pulled an Adrian Brody and said, turn the music off, all right?
That was unbelievable.
I've been up here before.
He just was like, I've turned the music off. I've done this before. Please
he big
stop,
time
please.
the music guy.
They did it. They negotiated with terrorists. I couldn't believe that.
Wow. What
the
kind of
music
precedent
guy,
does this set?
He cowered to him. He just like faded the music out slowly and then played him up again. He got played off twice in one speech.
Yeah. Well, I was wondering about when they played it twice, and it was kind of like, if you play the second time, you got to nail him with the second time.
You turn it up. You keep turning it up. Louder and louder.
Do you think the music was too quick on him? Because it was a long speech. Do you think what would you do in that situation?
It was the longest speech ever.
So yes, it was
really
long. Are Benita Fish big?
Yes. No, they should have played him off. He should have gotten the fuck off the stage, in my opinion.
Are you being metaphorical, or was that literally the longest Oscar
speech? It was the longest.
Ever?
It's funny that it came from the movie that he was in, The Brutalist, which is like the longest movie ever. But I saw Variety. I think I don't know if it's fact checked, but I read that it was the longest acceptance speech ever.
I mean, this is.
It was like 5 minutes and 50 seconds or something.
Pot calling the kettle black from a podcast that like runs long, but I got to tell you, it wasn't like he was having some profound thing. It was kind of just like about him.
Is it ironic that we're still talking after getting played off about this or not?
Well, this guy's going to have to play us off again. We should hang on until he does, like Adrian Brody.
Can I say one more thing, by the way? This Isaac Tesla guy. Do you guys remember Matt Jones? Another Arkansas receiver. He was 6'6", 240.
Yeah, he was huge.
He was a quarterback at Arkansas, and he got drafted 21st overall by the Jags to play receiver. And for the first couple of years, he was pretty good. Like, he insanely athletic, 4.4 speed. And I did a RAS comparison thing. So basically, come on! We're talking about Matt Jones here. He got arrested for cocaine a whole bunch of times, and then he was out of the league in like 4 years. Anyway, maybe he'll make a comeback.
Okay. All right, moving on here. We got the next one.
I do have one quick question. Quick follow-up. I've been meaning to ask this. DK, this is actually a real football question. Okay. I believe you have Travion Henderson, the Ohio State running back, ranked above Omarion Hampton. After this relative athletic score thing, after Hampton won this award, is he now above Trey Henderson for you or no?
I don't know. It's really tough because I love Trey Henderson. He's a really good pass protector, really good in the passing game. They're very kind of different styles. It just kind of depends on what you need. I'm probably just going to be a coward and like rank them right next to each other.
Okay, cool. All right.
It's the most honest draft analysis I've ever heard.
I love it. It's like two new receivers are on a team in the NFL. We don't know how to rank them.
I mean, it is truly, to me, the question or the answer is they're completely different styles of running back. It's almost like they're playing different positions. So? Judkins is right in there too in terms of like the way that Ohio State used Judkins. It was like he was the lead back. It was like David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. Both guys really good. Both guys incredibly important to the offense. Which guy's better? I mean, I would probably say Gibbs just because of the explosive factor, and that's probably why I lean Henderson. And Henderson, I think, had the second highest overall speed in terms of miles per hour of all the running backs. He just didn't, his overall 40 time was 4.43, really good. But he ran 23.4 miles an hour on his 40, which is number 2 among all running backs. So he's got a ton of juice too. So I don't know. It's one of those things. It depends on what it's a flavor. Like what kind of receiver or what kind of running back do you want?
You know, every time one of my least favorite things is when I go to a restaurant and I ask the waiter, what do you recommend? And he goes, well, it's just kind of whatever you liked. You know, it's really up to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you're the expert here. I want to pick.
I'm going to do a Travion Henderson then.
Okay. Thank you. I'll order that. I will order a Travion Henderson.
But the Hampton is also very good. It comes highly recommended by the chef.
Yeah. So it's kind of really just up to your taste, whatever you like.
What are you looking for? Do you want, surf or turf?
Here are the nominees for the most athletic defensive player.
Ooh.
Nick Emenwari out of South Carolina. Darian Porter out of Iowa State. Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M. Those are the three nominees. DK, who was your winner?
I think this one, pretty straightforward. Nick Emenwari from South Carolina put together one of the greatest combine performances of all time.
Safety
/ linebacker hybrid type of guy. He's kind of just one of he's going to play all over the formation.
Come right
he's
up.
Big
Golf ball whacker
guy. He's 6'3", 220, ran a 4.4 40, 43-inch vert, 11.6 broad, number one relative athletic score of all time at the position. He's basically
40 years to the score.
He's basically DK Metcalf playing safety.
Yeah.
In fact, there was in my scouting report I wrote this. He caught a pass, intercepted a pass in the end zone against LSU, I believe, and ran it back. I don't even think DK Metcalf would have caught him on that play. You remember the Budda Baker play where DK Metcalf chased him down? He would have ran away with this. He is so fast, so explosive. That play was actually ended up getting called back because there was they hit the quarterback too hard or something. But Emenwari was the talk of the town when he was doing all this stuff.
We should say a 43-inch vertical is nothing to be overlooked. Vince Carter has a 43-inch vertical.
I believe 43-inch vertical is the highest vertical they've ever had at the NFL Combine. I believe. I could be wrong about that.
I want to say he is that's the best. I think I saw this. The best vert from anyone over 200 pounds.
Yes, that's it. The highest vertical from anyone over 200 pounds.
He's doing that at 220.
To Craig's point, there's not a ton of NBA players that can hit that.
No, it's like Michael Jordan and Vince Carter.
Probably John Morant.
And Nate Robinson.
But yeah, so I mean, that kind of vertical is insane. And then you can still run a 4.4 40-yard dash. And again, 11 foot in the broad, 11 and a half feet in the broad, he could just jump
wild.
11 and a half feet from standing.
But okay, the question here is, do these guys usually work out? Do the athletic aliens usually work out? It's cool that he can do all this stuff, but is he good on the field?
Well, I think that's kind of the cool thing about him is I was already excited about him even before he did any of these tests. Obviously, I think he's going to get pushed up into the first round because of this. I would have him like a fringe first rounder, which isn't like necessarily a bad thing. He's still a very good player. He is instinctive, great ball skills in terms of like getting his hand in the passing lane, knocking the ball down, a ton of that stuff. I think he brings an intimidation factor over the middle of the field just because he's so big and he flies around. So I really like him as a player. I think there's some limitations in terms of he's a little stiff going backwards and like changing directions and things like that. There was, a handful of times on tape where he kind of like stumble trying to change directions when he's backpedaling or whatever. So he's not like the most fluid guy in the world, but so explosive, make up speed when he's in trail position, coming down, running the alley and making hits on running backs and things like that. He just can access. It's like what we were talking about with the running back. He can access lanes because he's so fast. So I'm really excited about him. I think this is probably going to push him up into the first round. But yeah, there's definitely been guys in the past, Craig, that are so athletic that they don't end up being good just because people think he's so athletic. Oh, he must be good. We can coach him up. Elefon, there was a couple of brothers that are super, super athletic. Heifetz, are you remembering what I'm talking about?
Yeah, is now the time? The music playing?
No, probably not a great time to ask a question.
Respect the music, DK.
Right.
Don't be a Brody.
The only other people from this category I want to shout out: Darian Porter, Iowa State cornerback, ran a 4.3 40, and then Shamar Stewart, Texas A&M edge.
What do you mean the only other people you want to shout? Those are the nominees.
Yeah, the nominees. I just want to say Shamar
talk
Stewart,
about all of them?
The reason he was nominated is that he is 6'5", 200 and almost 70 pounds, and he has a 40-inch vertical and ran a 4.6 40. DK, do you think Shamar Stewart's like a top 10 pick in this draft as a pass rusher?
I think he's going to be. Yeah, for sure. I think so. He was the other talk of the town. Everything he did was just absolutely insane in terms of explosiveness, movement skills. And he's the perfect example of traits versus production because the traits are there. And Heifetz, I think I brought this guy up to you really early in the process.
You did. You said he's my guy.
I'm like, Shamar Stewart, man, the way he moves is different. And then I kind of got a little deeper into it. And I'm like, I can see there's some worry in terms of why is he not more productive? I think
so if you're this athletic, then why didn't you destroy people?
Is there a little bit of Jadeveon Clowney to him?
I think, and the Travon Walker thing is what I keep coming back to. The Georgia defender from a couple of years ago that was
number one over Aiden Hutchinson.
Right, number one overall pick. Ago. And, I think he's turning out to be a really good player.
But that's funny. Those guys are the opposite, right? Because Aiden Hutchinson was like on-field production,
Super
but didn't
productive.
exactly test super well.
And then Hutchinson in the NFL, super productive.
Right.
Who would have thought? But I think it's one of those things where coaches, believe that they can mold this guy. And I think Stewart's really young. I believe he's only 20 years old. So just bet on traits, bet on talent, and develop him. And he's only, he's got his where he's going is really, really exciting. I think it's just a little more, what is he going to turn into? Because we don't really know right now.
Which position do you guys think scouts, damn it. Which position do you guys think scouts get most enraptured by a player being so athletic?
Defensive end.
Yeah, right? It has
and
to be.
defensive tackle.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's all my time. Thank you to the Academy.
So,
I guess he's 21, but still, I think, he's got a lot of upside.
Okay, so here are the nominees for the fastest kid alive, aka people who crushed the 40-yard dash. We have Maxwell Hairston, the cornerback out of Kentucky, Isaiah Bond, receiver from Texas, who, this guy said he was going to break the 40-yard dash record and then ran a 4.4. So
that was like when LeBron and them were like, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5. Yeah.
Not 4.2, not 4.22, not 4.23. And then his teammate Matthew Golden, receiver from Texas, who beat him by a lot, ran a 4.29.
I love that.
I don't know how to say this person's name, and I've never heard of him before this week. Bracial Tutton?
Basial Tootin?
Bracial Tootin.
No
There's
R.
no R. I don't think it's just Basial.
Oh, it's just Basial?
I believe so. We'll check on that.
I'm not going to lie. I don't know anything about Basial Tootin. But he's at Virginia Tech. He ran a 4.340.
Mm-hmm.
And then my personal favorite was James Pierce, the pass rusher at Tennessee, who did not remember his little shirt with the number. He forgot it. So he had to run in a hoodie, and he ran a 4.47 with the hoodie.
Why couldn't he run shirtless?
Where
was
his shirt?
I don't know.
Why can't you run shirtless?
I don't make the rules.
This is Antonio Brown all over again, like getting his feet burnt when he turns up with the new team.
You know how people burn their feet all the time?
So he burned his feet in
forgot his
cryo.
shoes. Didn't Kadarius Toney forget his shoes first day of practice?
Wrong shoe size, I thought. Or was it just didn't have shoes?
Kadarius Toney didn't bring
my
shoes that
nightmare,
fit.
man.
Antonio Brown couldn't put shoes that fit on because he burned his feet in a cryo. Anyway, yeah. DK, and also, I'm not even mentioning, I'm sorry, I'm so bad with the offensive tackle to Mizzou, Armand Memba, who ran a 4.9 as a left tackle, basically. He was screaming the whole final 20 yards. Just like actually absolute war cry out here to get under 5.
Badass.
Sick. So, DK, of all these people, who's the fastest kid alive?
I'm going with the literal Maxwell Hairston. Ran 24.25 miles per hour, top speed among all players this weekend. And that is according to, by the way, if you look at the
Wait,
NFL,
is that a new thing now? So it's like the 40 we don't care about. We're doing miles per hour?
If you combine his 40, which is a 4.28, which is extremely, extremely good, and the fact that he topped out at over 24 miles an hour.
But is that a newer development? I don't remember people talking about miles per hour.
It's like the
That's
Super
what I
Bowl.
was going to say is
We have next-gen tracking. It's like the
there.
Super Bowl
There is
odds.
now a website called the Combine IQ, which has mile per hour, like top speed built in. So it's really, really cool. Our boy Keegan Abdu, he has him and his team have like the coolest stats, and they've turned the NFL.com Combine page into like some of the best info that you can find. So go check that out. It's NFL.com/combine/IQ, and it's got a lot of cool info. But anyway, Hairston, 24.25 top speed, 4.28 40. He also had a 39-inch vert and 10.9 broad. Just a ludicrous athlete. And by the way, we were talking about Isaiah Bond. He did run faster, according to miles per hour, than Matthew Golden. He reached 24.17.
Okay, this is what I want to know with math.
It just took him longer to get there.
So it's like,
or maybe he just didn't
like
stay at that speed long enough. I don't know.
I don't know if how much that has to do with getting out of the blocks really well or not, because that's like Travion Henderson. Yeah, he has like the second best miles per hour, but the 7th best 40 time among the running backs. But also, I'm still dubious of how much top speed actually matters. Honestly, if it does quarterback more than anything, it does matter. The other
if you get burned, you need to be able to catch up.
Yeah, that one's the rare one that does. You actually do have to run 40 yards in a straight line sometimes.
But like, I feel like with what this stuff generally just tells me is like, the specifics are kind of irrelevant to me. It's like, okay, these guys are fast. Like, that's all you need to know.
Yeah, they're fast. So, DK,
speed is a yes/no proposition for corners. Yeah. You have to have speed.
So DK, do you think, so this is an example of Maxwell Hairston out of Kentucky. Do you think that he's like a second rounder now, high second, low second? Like, what do you think this does to?
Yeah, I think he was already kind of getting some buzz coming into the combine, and this will solidify it probably early day 2. So second round, late second round, I would say it seems pretty solid for him. Good player too. And so, he's a big time winner from the combine.
How do you feel about, wow, perfect. Good timing there, DK.
Heifetz, remember what I was telling you about Isaiah Bond at the combine? He's exciting. I think he's kind of like a messy, he's messy, but I'm excited to see what he does.
All right, we have a special thing now. If we'll go to Craig Horlbeck for a special presentation, courtesy of the Oscars and the NFL Combine.
Yeah, I want to see the montage.
I have been given the prestigious honor to give out our Lifetime Achievement Award for. Okay. Honestly, that's fair. That's fair. Everybody hates those, even though it's great and they had a wonderful career. Everybody hates those.
It's true.
We took so long talking about the relative athletic score that they had to cut to commercial early here.
We had a 10-minute interlude about James Bond.
Wait, you got to say who it was, first of all.
Okay, the Lifetime Achievement Award, we were going to honor a man named Tyler Shuck. It is spelled Shough, so you'd think it'd be like Schaff or Show or Shuff.
Shoe?
But it's Shuck. And the man has played 7 college football seasons. His first season was
Van Wilder over here.
He's a Louisville quarterback, and his first season was in 2018. Justin Herbert's sophomore year on Oregon. He was on his team. COVID was 18 months away. Anthony Richardson was a junior in high school.
COVID was 18 months away.
Anthony Richardson was a junior in high school. Green Book won Best Picture that year, and Trump was 2 years into his first term.
Jesus.
Anyway.
Dude, Tyler Shuck is in the same high school class, graduated at the same time as Trevor Lawrence.
Dude, Tyler Shuck has 2 undergraduate degrees. He's got a master's, and he's working on his second master's.
That man is smart.
This man 4 degrees.
Yeah, this man is
4 degrees in college. So it's funny because he's going to turn 26 in September. And so on one hand, what's going on here? So he went on McShay's show. McShay loves him. And I don't know. It's a weird quarterback class, and you'll throw darts. My gut is, usually you'd be like, why did it take him 7 years to start? There were a lot of injuries involved. Right. But yeah, shout out Tyler Shuck, lifetime achievement, because 7th time is the charm. He got to be an NFL, got to be a college football starter.
The thing here with him is to remember is that it's not like he stayed in school for so long because he was just not good enough to go to the NFL. Or in theory anyway. It is a situation where he just got hurt. It's kind of like the Michael Penix thing. He got hurt so many times he had to keep kind of coming back and transferring and doing that thing. He went to Oregon, Texas Tech, and Louisville. He broke his collarbone in 2021, shoulder again in 2022, and then his left fibula in 2023. So he kept getting injured and kind of having to reset. So I don't know. He's one of those guys where day 2, take a roll of the dice on him. I'm not against that.
Well, when you say day 2, do you mean it?
I don't think he should go in the first round
or the second round.
Well, okay, late second. How about that?
Well, that just depends on kind of what you want.
Yeah, it depends on if you're
late
desperate for
second's
quarterback.
high.
Well, so look, he's good size. He's 6'5", 220 something. He can move around. He's very athletic. He ran a 4.6. He was hooting and hollering after he ran his 42, by the way.
He was the only one in his group
jacking
running
up the crowd.
It always looks sick when you're the only one in the group running and all the other quarterbacks are just kind of chilling, and you actually have to run and run back and run it twice.
And this man has so many college degrees. I assume that he's smart.
Rocket
so
scientist.
there's some things here. There's tools here that you can work with. I think that's what people are looking at. I don't know. Take a risk on it. It's like the Brock Purdy thing.
Yeah, the last pick of
hopefully
the
you
last
strike gold
round
with
of the
this
draft.
guy. Well, he's not going to last to the last round now, but
Okay, next award here. I don't know why I was given this award. This was these were all given out at random, but this is the Length is in Everything award.
I think you know why you're presenting this one.
Again, some of the hosts of the Oscars, they just need a host to read the award. They just need a celebrity. It's not always indicative of the
best
award
one.
itself.
Ben Stiller reading production design while he couldn't get up on the stage was really funny.
Very funny. I always like when they do stuff like that. All right, so there are only 2 nominees for the Length is in Everything award. Actually, there's 3. It is Will Campbell, the tackle guard out of LSU, Mason Graham, the defensive tackle out of Michigan, and Danny Heifetz out of Westchester, New York.
Out of Westchester. All right. Drum roll, please. I'm going to go with Will Campbell.
Ow.
Who, look, he had, 32-inch arms or something like that. Falls well short of, I think, the 34 standard that people like to have at left tackle. But
it falls 2 inches short.
Right. Hold on. Pull it. What was exactly his measurement here? Because I want to get it right. But in the meantime, the reason I'm...
The measurement, exactly, I actually have it in front of me for Will Campbell. So Will Campbell, he has... As I said that in front of me, I actually don't. Here we go. No, his wingspan, he would have the shortest wingspan of any starting tackle, left or right tackle in the NFL.
I feel like this is the Rashawn Slater thing all over again. People talked about Rashawn Slater not having the arm length, the overall length that you want to have.
He's the tackle on the Chargers.
Right, and he's very good.
Who's awesome.
And I think I'm not saying he's going to be, the next all-pro left tackle or whatever. But like, if you look at what he did as an athlete, he was one of the best athletes at tackle. He ran the 40 in less than 5 seconds. He had a 32-inch vert, which is very good for a man of his size. We nominated him
moments ago for top offensive
9.5 broad jump, which to me indicates explosive movement ability in terms of his ability to deal with speed on the edge. So I don't know. He had a very good 10-yard split. He hit 16 miles an hour, which is, again, good for a guy who's like 320 pounds. So I don't know. I'm just like ignoring a little bit the wingspan thing and just looking at his ability to move, his foot quickness, his balance, and all those things. I think he's going to be fine.
So he's a T-Rex, but you know what? T-Rex, Apex Predator. Apex, they had a good run. I mean, hell.
Yeah,
first team All-Pro.
I mean, it took an asteroid to get rid of them. So.
And we got another one coming. Everything comes around.
And you have him 7th on your big board currently, DK.
Yeah, I just think he's a good player.
And also, it's not like the arm length is all end all be all. It's just like these are all baselines, and like there's a bare base minimum you need to succeed. But if you're below the threshold, it's like, all right, what do you do well? He's a 99th percentile athletic offensive tackle. That's what he does. He doesn't have short arms. He's a really good athlete. God damn you, guys.
He had 32 and 5/8 inch.
And for people who may be just tuning in,
I'm like, how do you even do that? Like
an inch and a half too short. That's not that much.
Grow your nails.
I know. They should do that. They should grow the nails like the Guinness World Record one.
I know. Would they measure to the nail?
I don't know. 5/8 of an inch when we're talking about arm span. I'm like, come on now. Can't we fucking...
And for those of you who don't know, like, why arm length is important, DK, I mean, it's quite simple. It's literally like longer arms means you can keep the bad guy away from you easier.
Yeah, right. Well,
push him further away.
That is what it is. And also, that's the thing is like, how do you stop the most incredible athletes in the world, which are like defensive ends, not tall enough to be in the NBA? Like Myles Garrett, you need long arms. All right, well, he's also an incredible athlete. That's kind of it to me.
Yeah, it's like, when you put, if you have a little brother and you put your hand on his forehead and he can't reach you.
And I mean, that's essentially
the goal. Yeah.
Like Popeye, they would do that. The little dog that would try to, Tom, Jerry, and the dog would show up.
Yeah.
It's like that.
I don't remember that.
Okay. The next award here, this is the opposite. Now, this makes sense why I am reading this. This is the Joey Porter Jr. Length is Everything Award. We have 2 nominees. Alfred Collins. What team is he on again? Out of Texas. And a guy named Holland Pierce, which sounds like an action star from the 80s from Rutgers.
Okay. This is tough because I think if you look literally at this, Holland Pierce is 6'8", 341 with 36-inch arms and an 88-inch wingspan.
Can you actually literally repeat that, please?
88-inch wingspan?
He's 6'8"?
I've never even heard of that.
Why doesn't this guy play in the
NBA? But his name's Holland Pierce.
How many feet?
I believe that's 7. It's over 7 feet. That's
7 1/3 foot. So what is Giannis's wingspan?
What's like
Giannis's wingspan is
7'4"?
It's exactly the same. So it's 88 inches. 87 inches. So this guy's wingspan's bigger than Giannis.
Yeah. So that gives you an idea of who that is. But I'm going to go with Alfred Collins out of Texas. This is a big boy. I mentioned him in my category.
Snub for my boy Holland.
I don't know if you guys remember this, but we had the got to get a look at these Warlocks category going into the combine.
What does that mean? Where's that reference from?
That is, it's referencing, it's from Superbad and referencing
what are they talking about?
Boobs. But in this case, just the sheer size of this fella. This is a big boy, maybe the biggest of boys. Alfred Collins, 6'6", 332, 34 and 5/8 inch arms, 10-inch mitts, just meat hooks for hands, 85-inch wingspan. And when you talk about a player who just like looks like a giant on the field, go look up Alfred Collins, his highlights, because he just looks like a giant. He's awesome.
Where do you got this guy ranked? When's he going?
I don't know, Day 2. It's probably 3rd round, 2nd round.
Okay.
Not going to be a first rounder, most likely.
Texas has got some big dudes, man. They had Tavondre Sweat last year, who was so big that he wouldn't weigh in because he was afraid of how much he weighed. And now they got Alfred Collins.
Right. Also, his name's Alfred, which I like.
Alfred is like a sick defensive tackle name. It's like an old school, like, you know, because Alfred's either someone small you could beat up or the biggest person.
Right. It's like
met.
Dwight Freeney. You know?
Yeah, if he was small, he would have got the shit.
If you have a
kicked out of
nerdy
him.
name and you're super athletic, that's like the coolest combination possible.
It is. It really is. Okay. Wow.
We didn't get played off
Kai?
in the Length is Everything award.
Ironically, that was the shortest speech.
This should have been the Chris Jones Memorial Length is Everything award.
When his dick fell out during the 40-yard dash?
His dick fell out running the 40-yard dash.
Now that's a
we
warlock.
really fucking missed that on this. But anyway, I digress.
All right, next up here, we have the Jared Goff / Kenny Pickett Memorial Small Hands Award for people who have really small hands and got it measured and talked about on the internet. Our nominees.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
What were you going to say?
No, I was going to say, because the Jared Goff, you know, I want DK to kind of give this award, but then also tell me, does he think this person will go the way of Jared Goff or go the way of Kenny Pickett?
So our nominees here are Isaiah Bond, the receiver from Texas, same guy who said he'd break the record and didn't even come close.
Just a liar.
Luther Burden, the receiver from Mizzou, who I think had the third, I think it was bottom 3 hands among any receiver measured.
Yeah, both Bond
like
and Burden
wide.
had 8.5 inches.
I
feel
that.
weird citing the measurements like it means anything to people. I'm like, you know, off the top of your hand, how pinky to thumb, how big your hands are. And then this is the wildest one. Jalen Milroe, the quarterback out of Alabama, his hands.
Emphasize the row.
I did say that weird. It's Milroe. I don't know why I said Milroe. That was weird. Jalen Milroe, his hands were 1/2 inch larger at the combine this week than when they measured them 3 weeks ago at the Senior Bowl. His hands at the Senior Bowl were measured 8 3/4 inch, and at the combine they were 9 3/8, which is over 1/2 inch bigger.
Yeah,
which is weird.
It is weird. It's happened before because I think this is one of those things. It's a human error thing. Some guys, just the way that they do the measurements, it changes ever so slightly from different events, which is, again, kind of taking away from the value of doing this, but it happens.
I also think, I think the measurement process is flawed because you can manipulate it. You know, I think Kenny Pickett tried to do that. I'm sure Milroe was stretching the massage in his hand. You can try to stretch it out. Even sometimes, you know, you can
it's like almost using a meat tenderizer on your palm.
Like if you were going to put your hand on your desk, you can almost plant your pinky and stretch it out a little extra further so your thumb is further away. You know what they should do?
That.
They should have everybody put their hand on the football and measure where the fingertips reach on the football.
Oh, that's good. That's
Craig, this is way too logical, pal.
It's like the 40-yard dash. Make them hold a football.
Make them hold a football. And
how about this? What if we watch
lines
them
on the
throw
football?
a football?
No, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see them. I want to see their hand on the football. So
I totally, and also Baker Mayfield talked about this. Baker's 5'11", and he stretched his spine to measure at 6 feet flat, and then he went first overall.
Is that right?
Yeah.
He's got on one of those medieval stretch boards.
Yeah, they're stretching his ass.
I'm going to go with Jalen Milroe because I think it matters the most. Luther Burden's sub 9-inch hands, that's kind of a red flag for me. Craig, are you still in?
This disappoints me. I'm a little nervous now. I'm not going to lie.
Just because, to be clear, you use your hands to catch the football.
Right.
So
what are the comps here, DK? Do we know any other great receivers in the NFL who have small hands?
Shoot, I should have had that ready. I'm sure there are guys that, thank you. Saved by the bell.
Kai, edit that so DK says, absolutely, Craig, I have 100 comps for you, and then play the music.
Let me get into them. Hold on, I want to put on my glasses. No, but to be honest, the Jalen Milroe thing, I think when he measured it at the Senior Bowl with 8 3/4 hands, that's almost like a deal breaker for a lot of teams. And I think it would take him off of boards for teams. And now 9 3/8, that's really average. This is like the hinge height thing where, if you're 6 foot or whatever, you're going to make a lot more searches. I don't know what I'm talking about. This is just what I've heard. I've never actually been on Hinge. So, yeah, sure. So it says here, I'm looking at wide receivers. It's like none of you guys are paying attention to me while I'm talking.
Here are some other wide receivers with small hands, according to the internet. Devontae Adams. I don't know why I'm so goofy.
Really?
I think I'm really tired. Devontae Adams, 9 inches. Some would say that's more than enough. T.Y. Hilton, 8.5.
Oh, right. T.Y., I remember that, yeah.
Antonio Brown, 9 inches. Greg Jennings, 9 inches. So there's precedent.
Mm-hmm. Those are 9, not 8.5, though.
I was going to say.
Well, 8.5 for T.Y. So maybe he's T.Y. Hilton.
I could see that.
Great.
It's a good comp.
I think in tandem with the fact that Burden's like this yards after the catch guy that has other questions, like there's a lot of things stacking up against Luther Burden that I'm not loving.
I know. I can't tell if that means I want to double down on him or if I should listen to all these scouts.
Well, it's the classic thing where if he's really good, we're like idiots, talks about hand size. And if he sucks, we're like, oh, yeah, maybe he can't catch.
It's all confirmation bias.
Yeah.
The other thing that I want to point out, and because I'm sure maybe, we had Texas fans that were, the meme where the guy's like the veins are bursting out of his face when, in class or whatever. Like when I was saying Luther Burden is more explosive than Matthew Golden, that didn't really pan out at the combine. Matthew Golden was insanely explosive. He ran like a 4.29. And Luther Burden, it's not like he ran poorly, 4.4 something, but very average or not necessarily standing out in a very fast class. So I'm sorry to all you Texas fans if you got angry for me for saying that. So yeah, Matthew Golden, very explosive.
Well, these three players, Isaiah Bond, Burden, and Milroe, all have something in common where there's a lot of questions about them otherwise. Like they all kind of regressed, frankly. They were all supposed to be much better prospects this season than they were in 2023. And honestly, they're 2023. They all leveled off. So the hand size is just another thing like, oh my God. Okay.
Maybe it's because of the hand size.
You think their hands are getting smaller with age?
No, I don't know. Do
your hands get smaller as you get older? You get shorter?
Gravity, maybe.
I feel like your fingers get thicker.
I'm just like picturing like old weathered old men where their fingers are like soft.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Old dudes have big ass fingers.
They do. Varicose veins, arthritis.
They all do, man. When
really
your grandparents have massive, thick sausage fingers.
It's like they're just the ring is just cutting off the circulation.
Yeah.
To
Wait, do you think
that's why bulging around the ring?
Do you think so? Troy Aikman's hands are so big? He's just old. They weren't even that big when he was.
Look, you're walking around all day for 70 years. All the blood's flowing to him. Those things fatten up.
The blood gets stuck in your fingers. I like that.
I'm sure that's accurate. Okay, next award here. This is the "What are they putting in the water down there?" award for the colleges producing the most hosses. We have honorary mention to Penn State, who's always doing it. And the other nominees this year are Texas, Iowa State, and of course, the University of Georgia.
Of course. This one's tough because all three of these schools produce some really freaky athletes in this combine. I'm having a hard time deciding on this.
I can humbly suggest there's Texas, Georgia, and Iowa State, who's the Honora of this process. With the $6 million budget. You have Texas, Georgia, and then fucking Iowa State is out here just pumping out prospects this season.
This was a really good lobbying by Heifetz. I'm going with Iowa State, who came out of nowhere. Noel, Jaden Higgins, and Darian Porter, the corner who we mentioned earlier, all had outstanding combine performances. So Noel, 4.39 40, 41.5-inch vert, which is really good. 11.2 broad jump, 6.82 three-cone, which is really fast. Anything under 7 at the three-cone for the receiver is really exciting. And by the way, he had 23 bench press, he's very strong as well. Higgins, meanwhile, who is like a big X receiver, outside guy. So Noel is an inside guy, like a slot, running slot fades and things like that. He's super fast, super shifty. Higgins, meanwhile, 4.47 40 at 6'4", 214 pounds. He also had a 39-inch vert, 10.8 broad. And then we mentioned Porter earlier, the corner. He was a receiver for the first couple of years of his college career, switched over to corner, but he's 6'3", 195, 4.3 40, and a really good broad jump, 10-11 broad jump. He was one of the top corners in relative athletic score ever, number 4 overall, based on those numbers. So I don't know what they're doing in Iowa State, but pretty impressive.
They're the Honora, support independent cinema. At this point, the Big 12 is like an indie company in college football, I feel like.
Yeah,
so
the
A24?
Yeah, they are. They're like the neon of college football. So support the Big 12, especially the schools like Iowa State.
I like A24 and then cut it in half. It's B12. That's actually good.
Look at that. Wow. Oh. Holy shit.
He nailed it.
Bang.
There's something there.
Wow. You should get your own award for that.
Yeah.
By the way, I mentioned
6 years
Georgia
something good.
because Jared Wilson and Tate Ratledge are both top 4 in RAS score. historically.
Tate
Very freakishly
I was going to
athletic.
say
Their
I was going to
interior
say
offensive line, not super sexy to talk about interior offensive line athletic scores, but they did well.
But again, 4th most athletic score in 40 years for a guard, which is pretty insane.
shabby.
I don't know if that means anything.
That website we were talking about, Combine IQ, Tate Ratledge is number 1 on the whole board for just athleticism.
Like, that's just crazy. And so,
It's crazy.
DK, here's my question.
This is crazy.
To bring this is crazy. But to bring this all home, there's different kinds of results here. Because again, you're looking for some measurables are like, are you tall enough to ride the ride? Like, do you have to be this big and this fast to play this position? Like, or not? Tez Johnson at Oregon, he's 155 pounds. You probably can't play in the NFL, son. I'm sorry. And then you have like other things where like, okay, you're good enough. And then there's like, yeah, son probably shouldn't say that. Whatever. Sorry. We live and learn.
Son.
Elite. Who Craig said Haas, and it got me in like Dukes.
Probably can't play in the NFL, son.
Yeah, sorry. But like, can you literally be an NFL player? There's elite, there's all this stuff. Then there's things that you already knew that. You know what I mean? Like there's some guys like, oh, this guy ran really fast. The fast guy ran fast. We kind of knew that. Right. So it shouldn't really double count. So with that said, taking what we literally know at the scores, but also what we were expecting, who do you think is the player, who comes to mind? You have to pick literally number 1, but who are the players that you think, given all these categories, move themselves, like actually change people's opinions and actually will increase their draft stock based on the testing, or at the very least force teams to go back and watch this guy's tape because they're like, wow, I didn't realize he was that fast. I didn't realize he was that athletic.
Ooh, that's a great question. I think the guy first comes to mind is Jedi Barron from Texas, who I was going to mention as another guy from Texas that was really, really athletic. He ran a 4.3940. I think there was a few questions about his overall top speed coming into the draft because he's, an outside guy, but he's a little undersized. He's got short arms. There's some worry with that. So him testing really, really well in the speed stuff and explosive stuff, I think is very good for him. I think that could push him up. And again, speed at corner is probably the most important thing. Like,
and this is Jedi. Is it Jedi Barron?
I think it's Jedi Barron.
Jedi Barron out of Texas. Okay.
I think with receivers, the Iowa State receivers that I mentioned, Noel and Higgins, are probably going to get a big bump coming out of this week because both of them were extremely athletic. But that doesn't always mean it's a good thing. You know what I mean? Because we've mentioned this in the past where the 40 time, Scott Barrett's study did, the 40 time is actually negatively correlates to success in the NFL because teams will reach on guys just because they ran really well.
This is our John Ross argument where I'm like, I don't care how fast he is.
But I do think these guys are good players, but I think they could get bumped into a range maybe where their expectations start to be a little bit too much for what they are. But, I would say the corner and these two offensive linemen from Georgia being really good athlete at offensive line, I think is important. Like Josh Norris has done studies about this a lot in terms of like your ability to move around, like especially the 3-cone drill stuff. I think it has shown a strong correlation to success in the NFL. So just being an athletic offensive lineman, it does matter. I don't think the 40 matters, but just being able to move around and
short, really offensive linemen don't run 40 yards, but your ability to get past the defensive tackle and run 4 yards and beat like Fred Warner to the spot to block him is extremely important.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Bayshul Tootin might get a big bump too, by the way.
Who is that?
4.3240.
Who is this? Do you like Tootin? Are you darn Tootin?
Yeah, I think so. He's super explosive. I want to say his, I need to look this up now because I want to.
While you're looking it up, can you guys hear my cat or no?
No.
Meow.
Oh, wait, I just heard him. I heard him again.
Meow, come here. Meow.
He sounds a lot like you.
Meow.
I think it might just be Heifetz.
Oh.
Did you hear the sad noise?
No.
Okay, I found his numbers for Tootin.
Sam,
Virginia Tech running back, really explosive. And his numbers are funny because he had a 4.3240 with a 10-yard split of 1.49 seconds, which is blazing. So incredible acceleration. His 20-yard shuttle, which is the short shuttle, which sort of measures, agility in the short area, was pretty bad, 4.41 seconds. So he's straight line guy only. If you give him a runway, I think he'll be really good, but maybe not like the shiftiest, the guy with the most wiggle in this draft class. But I think this will push him up a bit.
Metcalf.
Yeah.
All right.
Can't turn.
I'm curious if there are other guys who had a bad combine and to a point where you're like, I kind of think they actually might have like dropped their stock. And I understand now why people skip this because this guy probably lost some respect.
So the one guy that kind of shocked me when I saw his numbers was Gunnar Helm, the tight end from Texas, who maybe he was the reason I did not nominate Texas for what's in the water down there. He ran a 4.84. I want to say he ran a 4.93 or something like that his first run.
Which is like offensive lineman beat
which
that.
is like literally there's never been a tight end in the modern era that's that slow that's had more than like
there's a chance I'm faster than him.
Right.
It's
Like
not crazy.
that is like we could mark him off on our draft board if you're that slow. However, and this is where it gets interesting. Ian Rappaport later tweeted, and I'm pretty sure it was Rappaport and not Schultz. He later tweeted that Helm, he injured his ankle on a false start on the first time he ran the 40. So he basically false started, twisted his ankle, and like basically you saw there was pictures of it later where it was like fucking huge. It was like a pretty significant ankle sprain. And then he just did all his tests and he didn't tell anyone that he hurt his ankle. And so this is probably a huge reason why. I'm very, very interested to see what he runs in his pro day. If he can get to like a 4.7, something like that at his pro day, that will be great because that'll kind of show that this was like sort of a fluke just based on his injury. But right now, as it stands right now, a 4.8 40 for a tight end it almost like eliminates you from fantasy contention. You're never going to be a big time pass catcher in the NFL at that speed.
It's commendable that he ran the 40 on a bum ankle and didn't tell anybody, but it's also, on the other hand, kind of embarrassing that he sprained his ankle running the 40. So I don't know where I land.
That's like he's actually I'm actually just that slow. Sorry.
That's good. The other guy I think we should mention, Heifetz, you brought him up, Tez Johnson. He ran a 4.51 at 154 pounds, which is really not
brutal,
really not good.
However, he's the receiver out of Oregon, tiny little guy.
I like him. I'm still in on him. I think running that slow at that weight is a big kind of red flag. But if you look at all his agility and all the other drills, he was really good. And so
you need to be a little heavier to get going. It's like throwing a wiffle ball. It's hard.
Totally.
Like, baseball just goes faster.
That's a good point. So those are the two guys that really came to mind. Obviously, Abdul Carter, the foot injury thing is sort of out of his control, but that hurt him potentially. And then we talked about Mason Graham and Will Campbell having short arms. So we'll see what teams think of that.
This is the most important part. Yeah. Who are the guys who, quote unquote, probably had a bad combine, but like you don't really give a shit and you're going to ignore this whole thing and you're going to like keep on liking them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the guys.
Like Mason Graham, where it's like his short arms. All right, well, I saw him play.
Yeah, like who are the guys you're ignoring the combine stats? Is that
like
Mason
Abdul
Graham?
Carter? Oh, the foot thing. All right, well, you should probably take him.
Yes, I think those three guys specifically. The other guy I would throw out here is Tyler Booker, the guard from Alabama, who he's getting some first round buzz. He had a really bad showing athletically, but that's, I don't know, kind of to be expected because he's a big bowling ball, like rolling ball of butcher knives type of guy where he's just, knocking people on their ass. He's a big rotund fella. But I saw, that typically guys of that athleticism don't go in the first round. So that could maybe drop him into the second.
And to your point, though, literally everybody at this year's NFL Combine, Tyler Booker was the third slowest player. 5.38 40.
It's not what you want. Not what you want.
5.38.
I mean, his 10-yard split was 1.96. It's 2 seconds to do 10 yards.
Yeah.
Which is pretty crazy.
So that could like force teams to be a little less excited about this guy in the first round. But we'll see.
Craig, we haven't talked about this yet. I want to hear how the Oscars were. So you actually went. Mm-hmm. The other show you produced.
He looked great. By the way, Craig wore a tux to the Oscars. He looked fucking pimpalicious.
Did you wear your wedding tux?
Yeah. Still fits.
So flex. So
it's been like 18 months. So
yeah. So you produced the rewatchables, obviously, but you produced also The Town with Matt Bellany, and so Matt Bellany brought you to the Oscars.
That's correct.
Is that a question?
Yeah, I didn't know you stopped there. I didn't know if you were. I thought you froze.
And I kind of realized I should probably ask a question, but I paused, and I was like, I'll just let him see if he picks up from there.
This is his red carpet question. So you came here with Matt Bellany,
right?
Yeah. So I actually went last year as well with Matt. This is my second year going.
Nice.
Last year was under more dire circumstances because I literally had a flight out of red eye from Miami to LA because I was at a wedding in Miami, landed. I got like 2 hours of sleep and I went. This time, much more normal circumstances. So I kind of like, was of sound mind this year. So I could actually like see what was going on. I kind of want to just like, what do you want to know? I mean, I could talk about it, but are there any questions you have or anything like?
Question.
Yeah.
Was there a moment that you were starstruck with anybody? Like when you're there hobnobbing with all the A-listers? Were you starstruck at any point? Or are you kind of like over that at this point?
I don't know. It sounds douchey to say I'm over it because it's like these people are more important than I am, and I acknowledge that. Sure. But to be honest, I'm not the type. I don't like to interact with like celebrities. I don't think they want it. So I usually just like if I'm next to them, I won't say anything. Like a few people I was close to at the after party, there's this thing called the Governor's Ball, and it's just the floor above the Oscars. So above the Dolby Theater, basically, you go up an escalator at the end, and it's this massive auditorium room, and it's this big party, and it's catered by Wolfgang Puck. He does the whole thing. Okay. And it's really, there's like sushi and pizza and everything you can imagine. There's like bao buns with roasted duck in it. There's all this stuff, desserts, everything.
Was Gordon Ramsay there?
I don't think so.
Well, he doesn't work for Wolfgang Puck.
No, I know, but it's like maybe there's like a rivalry there. The reason I brought him up is because that was like I think the most starstruck I've ever been at any one of these NFL events that we've ever gone to. Is I saw Ramsey at the Super Bowl in LA, and I was like, Gordon Ramsay. I wanted to go see him. That's about it.
What would you have said to him if you got to talk to him?
You fucking donkey. I would have asked him to call me a fucking donkey. Just for fun, you know.
So I got to I was near Bob Iger. I was near Conan O'Brien, who hosted the show.
Oh, Conan. That's sweet.
Really tall, huge dude, massive head.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think he's like 6? What do you think his wingspan is?
Dude, 6'7", 6'8".
88.
You think Conan's 6 foot? Wait, how tall do you think Conan?
He seemed 6'5" to me in person, and I feel like he's a lanky guy. I wouldn't be surprised if he has a 6'7" wingspan.
Damn. He should play receiver.
I would say honestly, the more starstruck, if you want to call it that, I would get is when you see people after the show holding the Oscar. Like when you actually get near somebody who
You're like,
won.
damn, that's real.
Like I was waiting. So after you leave, you walk in. They shut down Hollywood Boulevard. They tent it. They dress it all up, so you would never know you're on the worst street in LA. And you go into the Dolby Theater, which again is like a crummy mall, and they just dress it all up, and then you go in, and it's this big movie theater, and there's tiers where you sit. I was on level 2. All the major celebrities, all the major nominees sit on the bottom level. I think there's 3 or maybe even 4.
Did you have eyes on Timmy the whole time?
I actually did. Where I was sitting, I could see him and Kylie sitting on the front left. But when you leave, you go out the same way you came in. There's only one way out because there's a lot of security. And it's basically like you're leaving school and you're middle school and you're just like waiting for your parents to pick you up. You're just waiting for Ubers, valets. It's mainly these like black cars that come. But I was just standing next to Adrian Brody, and he was just holding his Oscar, and he was with his team of like 3 or 4 people. And so in those instances, it's kind of weird because I think
his Uber wait time have like 8 minutes?
The weight. You can see the weight of the situation.
And you're like, wow, this is maybe the best day of your life. And you're just a guy standing next to me kind of waiting for your car to show up. So that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
And then the Governor's Ball is also where all of the winners go. And there's kind of there's stages on the perimeter of this giant area. And they go up and they get their statues engraved with their names.
That's what I was wondering. So they get their names engraved after they win.
After they win.
Because I'm wondering, so obviously they're going to party, but like, is everyone just holding their own Oscar? Like, there's no place to coat check for the Oscars. You have to hold it for like the next, because it's early in LA. It's like this thing ends at 8 o'clock. It's the best day of their life. So you have to hold this Oscar for like 8 hours, basically, wherever you go.
Yeah, I mean, when I also by that valet area, Sean Baker, the director of Honora, who won 4 Oscars, he's the only person ever, the only individual to win 4 Oscars in a night for one movie.
That's wild.
It's him and Walt Disney, but Walt Disney did it with 2 movies. Sean Baker did it with 1 movie. He edited, directed, produced, and wrote it. And he just had like 2. It was like he was holding one. I think it might have been a daughter of his was holding one, and then 2 other people on his team were just holding Oscars.
That's crazy. Just double fisting.
Bring more people over there. Hold all of Oscars.
Yeah, double fist. Wait, so how did you end up? You held an Oscar. How did you end up holding an Oscar? We can put it in the video if you're on Spotify. Video now on Spotify and YouTube, but also video on YouTube on Spotify now. So we'll put this photo up. How did you end up holding this Oscar?
Matt Bellany and I were eating, stuffing our face with sushi and pizza at a table. And this guy who was standing in front of us with a woman turned around and he goes, "Are you Matt Bellany and Lucas Shaw?" And Lucas is the guy, a writer for Bloomberg who goes on The Town every Monday. And we were like, "Oh, it's actually Matt and I'm Craig." And he's like, "Oh, sorry. I didn't know what you guys look like, but I recognize Matt's voice. I'm a big listener of The Town." And he was holding an Oscar. And it was at the same time I was telling Matt, "Man, I've never held an Oscar. I want to see how heavy one of those things is." And he actually was
get my hand on one of these guys.
One of these warlocks. Yeah. But he was on the visual effects team for Dune 2. And so he let me hold it and I took a photo with him. Very nice guy. I believe his name was Steven.
So first of all, how heavy was it?
It's really heavy. Heavier than
Is it actually gold?
I would imagine some of it, a percentage of it.
Yeah.
It's probably gold plated.
It's really heavy. I would probably give it, I'm trying to think. I'm bad at that. I'm looking at the dumbbells in my office.
Yeah, what other things?
I don't know, 10 pounds? Like, it's heavy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it says
It's funny
the
because
Oscar.
I guess I don't think about where it's like, but it's weird because it's like if a dumbbell didn't have it's all on the bottom.
Yeah.
Is the bottom heavy? I assume the statue's not heavy.
The bottom is the heaviest, but the statue still feels decently weighted as well.
They say, according to the internet, the Oscar trophies are produced in Rock Tavern, New York. The process involved creating 3D models, casting them in wax, and coating them in ceramic shells to eventually create the gold-covered award. It's cast in liquid bronze and electroplated in 24 karat gold.
Oh.
So when like
So
visual
those things
effects,
are hefty.
but when Dune wins for visual effects, how many people get an Oscar? Because don't like hundreds of people do that?
Yeah, there's some type of like basically the unions vote on that, like the Producers Guild. So when you win Best Picture, there are many producers on a film, oftentimes like 5, 10, 15, like there can be 1 million in the credits, but they don't all go up there because the PGA basically, there's a vetting process that determines like how much you did on the film and whether or not you qualify. So like Mark Platt produced Wicked. He's the only accredited producer on that movie. So if Wicked would have won, it would have just been Mark Platt alone up there holding the Oscar. Other movies who have more than the PGA through their vetting process, they allow more people in, more people go up and get awards. I believe it's like the same thing for other categories.
So when Nora wins Best Picture, just Sean Baker gets the Oscar?
No, because there are more accredited producers. He is just the lead producer. He's just one of them. I think there was like 7 or 8 people up there. And then the other cast will go up. But I think all of the producers that are accredited by the PGA get the statues.
Who was the drunkest person at the party?
It's funny.
The lady never tells.
I talked to Matt about that now. It's like, there's like people who are drunk that I don't know who they are, but the stars, especially in the beginning, the governor's ball, which is like right after, no one's, everyone's buttoned
They go
up.
to their parties later to get drunk.
Yeah, you go to
Also, it starts at like 4:00 Pacific. Also, isn't there the whole pre-ceremony with all the technical awards they've cut out of the broadcast? Isn't it starting earlier?
Yeah, they should honestly probably cut out more of the current awards that we see on the broadcast, put those in the technical categories because this broadcast is way too long. But yeah, it like takes forever. You basically, the Oscars end at like 7:30, 8:00 in LA. Then you go to the governor's ball for like an hour. You get your awards engraved. Then you go upstairs and change. There's basically places you can rent out, you change. And then you go to Vanity Fair in Beverly Hills. And that's like this massive party that the magazine puts on. And everybody goes to that. It's basically a red carpet after the Oscars. And you kind of wear more,
like
less
wild stuff.
Yeah, you get a little bit more daring with your clothing, and you do red carpet there. But people who aren't even like involved in movies go. Like Kendall Jenner will just be there, or like Olivia Rodrigo, and you just go and you do that, and you take more pictures and hang out for like another hour, and then there are after parties. And usually the film that thinks they're going to win Best Picture will rent out lately. And I'm just repeating what Matt Bellany told me. Soho House in West Hollywood, it typically rents out the top 2 floors if they think they're going to win Best Picture. And Neon and Honora did that, and they won Best Picture. And then Matt and I got to go to that.
Oh, no way. That's cool.
That's awesome. How was that?
It was very cool. They were so excited.
Oh, so can you explain what Soho House is?
It's like a members-only social club for people in the industry.
And the LA one, though, it's like actually something you never experienced. Well, I guess I didn't have very much money when I lived in LA, but like you just like walk around. It's just like actual floor to ceiling windows, like the whole way around, which you never see. I feel like in Los Angeles.
It's really cool, actually. And yeah, all the Russian guys from Honora were there, and they were stoked. They were jumping up and down with all the producers, and they're holding all their awards. They were great. Yeah, I mean, it was honestly a very young crowd because I was at the one last year with Oppenheimer, and the Oppenheimer one was like, the CEO of Comcast is there. And it was like a little bit different vibe. It's like Steven Spielberg showed up and Robert Downey Jr. And this was like a bunch of 30-year-olds who are just
They're
like
holding
super
congressional
stoked.
hearings at the
They're like,
at the
holy
party.
shit, we just won 5 Oscars. We made this movie for $6 million. Oppenheimer cost $300. Like,
Dude, that's wild.
Or whatever, yeah.
That's sick.
Was Conan good?
I thought Conan was awesome. I thought he like hit it out of the park. I thought he was kind of perfectly acidic, but also his lovability kind of made it all work. I thought he had some funny, sharp jokes. Started off a little clean, then got a little dirty. I thought it was great. This is the first time doing it for him, and I guarantee you they will ask him back.
Who had the best fit?
Andrew Garfield. He's got a good stylist.
I saw it. Was it the brown looking one?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
He's got a great stylist. He's always looking good.
I loved Ariana Grande. She was in the front row, and her dress was so poofy that Jackie pointed this out to me, every time she sat down, she needed help. Like the two people to her left and right kept having to tuck her. Like if she just sat down, both of them would be sitting on her dress or it would be on their lap. So they folded it underneath her every time she sat, which is a lot because you're upstairs, like clapping a lot.
Some of my favorite parts of the Oscars, and I'll send you guys these videos. I was taking them on Snapchat. Is during the commercial breaks, everybody sitting down on the bottom floor gets up and mingles, and you only have like 2 minutes, and there's a countdown on the screen, so you know how long you have. And everybody just gets up and they're running around, and like Ariana Grande is going over to Emma Stone, and they're chatting, whatever. Timmy and Kylie did not get up once.
What?
People would come to them, but they would not stand up.
They're holding court.
They were literally like holding hands and staring into each other's eyes for the entire show. Did not get up during any commercial breaks. It was very interesting.
Were you bummed that he didn't win the Oscar?
Yeah, I wanted him to.
Yeah.
What did you make of that, though?
I don't know. I
so
think
Brody won over him, right?
Brody did win over him.
Yeah.
No, but what did you make of them just sitting and staring at each other?
I don't know. I can't tell if it was Timmy doing like this, like kind of like big brothering everybody, even though he's the youngest guy nominated. Like I feel like he's kind of like, you come to me, I don't come to you. After that SAG speech he gave where he was like, I want to be one of the greats. I want to be Michael Jordan of my craft. I do think he's kind of in this mode now where he's trying to show the world. You know, he was sitting courtside like Leo at the Lakers game. I do think he wants to level up. And he's like, I'm here with my gorgeous girlfriend and I don't need to get up for anybody else.
Were people going to them?
Yeah.
You got to ask Matt if that's like Leo started that or something. Is that like a thing that the leading man will do?
Yeah, you don't get up during the commercial break.
I think all the time about when Will Smith hit Chris Rock, that between the commercials, didn't Denzel go over to him and Denzel gave him this like, honestly, movie-ass speech of just like, what did he say? It was like I
don't remember.
He says is when you're at your highest, that's when the devil comes for you.
Everybody like
Denzel.
I know.
Denzel saying that to you.
And then he won Best Actor.
And then he won Best Actor.
And then partied after at Vanity Fair.
Does he go? Is he invited? He can't come back, right?
No, I think he's banned for like 20 years or something. I forget.
Fitz, he can't come back, right?
Keep my wife's name.
Dude, that was wild. I feel like we don't talk about it enough, even. No. I know that it's talked about a lot, but that was insane.
Yeah, he's
banned. Dude. Like the reaction to getting hit is like so genuine. Wow, dude.
He's banned for 10 years. Which is so crazy.
I also think Chris Rock's not over it either. I don't think Chris Rock is fully recovered from that.
No, dude. I mean, how can you? Jesus Christ.
Chris Rock seemed like weirdly thirsty for Kim Kardashian on camera at the SNL 50 thing.
Apparently they were hanging out the night before or something. So maybe, I don't know. I don't know if it's just the two of them, but I think they were together at something.
Interesting. Okay.
Well, I'm jealous. That sounds super fun, Craig. Well, it
was really fun. I'm extremely lucky to go. I am the least qualified person there. So,
is that why you just sat down and made everyone come to you?
Yeah.
He was holding court.
And I was much like Timmy. I was pissed that I didn't win either. So, Anora, good movie. I think people will love Anora. If they haven't seen it, go check it out.
Don't watch it with your kids.
Don't watch it with your children.
Don't watch it with your parents. Don't watch it with really anybody except maybe your partner or
someone
your
that you feel very comfortable with.
Yes.
Right.
But it's actually like a very funny.
Don't watch it with your coworkers, probably.
Romantic, good movie. Yeah.
And then email StortingFantasyFootball@gmail.com if you have the not Craig's for questions for Craig about being at the Oscars. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, DK. Thank you, Kai. Thank you, Troy. Thank you, Austin. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, Lord.
Thank you, Fuji's.
Okay.
Don't know where he pulled that from.
I feel like there was an Oscar.
Was there an Oscar where there's no musical acts there, right? Like
they had Ariana Grande and
that was amazing.
Cynthia Erivo doing the opening. It was
they
great.
opened the show with Wicked and the Sound of Wizard of Oz. That was really cool. Usually they have like the best original songs performed throughout the broadcast, but they all sucked this year, so they just didn't do it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that why? I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
They were just like, why? It was all depressing music or just.
Yeah. Or it's like Amelia Perez songs that like didn't really translate or songs that just weren't that great or were kind of niche. Last year it was like fucking Barbie.
Yeah.
You know, like you want star power. I mean, this broadcast was 3 hours and 45 minutes. If the songs if those 5 boring songs jammed into 4 hours of Oscars, like that is overkill. You at least got to get Ryan Gosling up there in a pink suit running around. You know, you got to do something.
So one last question, at least. So obviously, Adrian Brody got whatever the song
Best actor
took him off. What is it called? Played off.
He got played off. Yeah.
Played off.
Oh,
Who else got played off?
Wait.
I mean, a lot of people.
Before we move off Brody, hold on. We didn't talk about him tossing the gum at his wife.
I know.
DK, did you? All right. So when he went up to get the award, he walked up the stage and then realized like halfway up the staircase that he had his gum in his mouth.
Just swallow it.
Turns around to his wife and underhand.
No, swallow it. You can't swallow it right before you go give a best actor speech.
He dies on stage. No, but so what would you do? I don't know. You
put it in your pocket.
Walk back, put it in your pocket. He underhand tosses the gum to his wife, who drops it. Bad throw, bad catch. And then she scrambles to pick it up off the carpet they cut away.
Yeah.
What a crazy underhand. I don't know.
Didn't he get like a big old kiss from Halle Berry?
Well,
like I guess multiple times.
He kissed
Is that
her.
Weird? Or
he kissed her when he won the first time, right? Which is kind of weird.
They were reenacting a kiss on stage from 20 years ago, but they did it like 4 times yesterday. And I was like, okay.
In front of his wife.
We get it. Yeah.
She like grabbed him and Halle Berry grabbed Adrian Brody and kissed him. And his wife is like, yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
You know who his wife is?
Oh my God. Yeah, Jackie told me. Oh my God. She was married to Harvey Weinstein, right?
Yes.
While everything was happening, like they were married?
Yes. They have kids together. So when Brody was mentioning the kids he was going home to, that probably makes sense that we're getting played off. He was mentioning the Weinstein kids.
Kai's probably right. All right. Please don't sue us, anyone involved in what we were just talking about. We probably shouldn't talk about this. Thank you, DK. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Kai. Thank you, Troy. Goodbye, everyone.